So at this point, we've got the track recorded, except for the guitar solo. And so then we get to the mixing stage, and we're in Townhouse Studios in London, which had an E-Series SSL console like this. It was a little larger, it was winged. And instead of having these kind of faders that had ultimation, these are just the VCA controllers, and the ultimation faders will move and respond to touch. So it's a slightly, probably cleaner sounding board. There are some people that prefer these kind of faders over the ultimation. They both sound good. It's just a matter of taste. And I'd never worked in Townhouse before. I'd always wanted to, and this was a great chance, I felt like, to really dig in and dive in that studio. So I traveled, still do sometimes, travel with quite a lot of equipment. And so what we set up at Townhouse, I would use EAR 660 compressors on the mix bus, a Neve BCM10 on the side. I would use the 1073s on my Neve for EQ. I still had like Echoplexes. I had the Binson Echo Rec that we would use. Echoplexes and Binson Echo Rec, a lot of time that would be printed, but we would use them during the mix and we'd have to print them afterwards. There's some EAR EQs that I would be using at the time. Some of it is pretty normal studio stuff now, like the TG1 compressor. A lot of studios didn't have that, so I bought that and would bring it with me. The Curve Bender EQ I had at that point, I'm pretty sure. I would have had that on the mix bus with maybe a GML also. And for vocal compressors, it would have been like 1176s and this kind of stuff. So my mix approach for this album wasn't really any different to anything else I was doing at the time, and to some degree I still do it sometimes. Nowadays, a bit more flexible in the approach. Sometimes I'll mix on a console like this in the way that I'm about to describe, and sometimes you're doing a combination of mixing in the computer or some hybrid outboard summing mixer kind of thing. But this was mixed on an SSL, and we've got an SSL, so let's just see how I would have done it then, and sometimes still do it now. So basically, I kind of subgroup things a little bit and spread them out on the board. So you can see we've got live drums down there. Then we've got the synthesized kick and drums. And we also have some samples from battery on the kick and snare. The hand percussion that we listen to, submixed onto 2 channels. The bass is coming out of 2 channels. Even though there's not a stereo sound there, I just have it coming out of 2 channels. Sometimes I might pan that up the middle and then just EQ one differently than the other and balance them both. A lot of times there's like a synth bass on a record or something like that, so you keep that stereo. The guitars, although we saw on the multi-track, there's a number of them, they were all designed to be in a stereo field. They were by design, one is supposed to be on the left, center, etc. I tend to like guitars hard panned, left, center, right. If you have a track that's really complicated, and you're trying to find room for stuff, then I'll start moving them around. Or if maybe you have only one guitar, then you probably wouldn't put it hard left or necessarily right in the center. But I tend to like a wide guitar sound, so that'll be hard panned. The guitar solo is coming out of 1920. That's a stereo sound. As we said, that was just some nonsense cooked up out of Eventide. Then we have the vocal ooze that come in the chorus. The lead vocal is 2 mono vocals. I've just got it here. We'll sort through that in a minute. Any effects that are coming out of Pro Tools, I'll have return onto 25 and 26. It's just like so I have some volume control over them, because there's always effects going on in the computer and you want to mix it into the rest of the music on the board. So then this is some more backing vocals. This looks like it's the Sansamp. The vocoder is probably mixed in here somewhere. I don't really know. And then, so the way I like to mix is a lot of any kind of compressors and stuff are done in a parallel processing manner. So I'm sure a lot of people already know what that is, but I'll just explain it briefly in case you don't. So basically you have a bass guitar. You don't want to completely compress the bass. You want to add in some compressed track so that you'll still have the main bass with some amount of dynamics, and then you'll have a compressed bass over here, and then you can mix and match them. So in this case, on the board, we'll send off of the bass coming in from the computer to some compressors and then mix those in. So that's called parallel compression. You can do it in the box pretty easily, and the SSL console has a couple of ways to do it really easily by having these small faders on every channel that you can route and feed from the large faders. So on the SSL console, these small faders can be source material in its own right. So if you have a huge mix, and so this board is 48 channels, let's say you have like 60 channel multi-track and you really want to split it out, these small faders can be used as more returns to the console, or you can put them in a mode where they will take the material from the large fader and route it up into the buses. So this is we've got this particular track to be pretty compact, so we'll just use the small faders to route into the buses. So we'll start by playing some drums. These are the live drums. So here we've got basically the kick drum, snare drum, very small, strange snare drum, overheads, which I'm not quite sure what's going on there, and then the rooms, which are going through a Sans amp, because why have normal room sounds? So this is your basic, this is what the drums sound like when we recorded them. So when I'm mixing, I like to, as I said, I like to have a parallel processor on the drum sound. So these small faders are picking up the signal from here and feeding them up to some buses. The buses, in the case of the drums, are going to Neve 33609 compressor. I like to put that on the drums. And also here we have the Phoenix compressor, which sounds really good. So I just thought I'd put that on the drums as well. And let's just hear what that sounds like when you add that in. So obviously, as soon as you add that in, everything's gonna get louder. But it's also thickening the sound a little bit. It lengthens the note. So one of the things about compressed drums that you want to always keep an eye on is it actually makes the drum sound longer. So if you take a kick drum, like that kick drum's not gated, it's just wide open. I mean, it's muted when we recorded it, but I'm not gating it now. The more compressor you feed that into, the note of the kick drum is going to get longer. So you want to kind of keep an eye on that, unless you want to make it longer. Anyway, okay, so then we've got the percussion here. Track still sounds pretty incomplete without all the electronic and synthesized kick drums, but got the hand percussion and whatnot. I don't really do anything to that. As far as processing, I'm not going to compress shakers and whatnot. It just sounds good being natural. So now we're mixing the synthesized stuff. Now that stuff, to me, needs to sound a little more explosive. So that I would probably send to the same compressors here. So again, this is this super weird thing. And if you listen really closely, the EMS, the kick that's going through my EMS synth is also generating a high pitch frequency in between notes. I think I've seen people talking about this online. There it is. And yes, I should have cleaned it up, and no, I didn't. So sorry. Like you can clearly hear it in there. When you mix in with everything else, it's a little bit harder to, I don't know why I didn't clean that up. During mixing, I might have gated it, but I don't know. Anyway. So then we're gonna add some compressives a little. And that, you can start hearing the sub of that ARP kick. The sub of the ARP kick that we heard earlier is starting to overwhelm the low frequencies. And the fills that I made on the Kima system that I've chopped up are really jumping out. That was definitely by design. I just wanted those things to really make a statement. So then you add in the bass. The percussion's kind of low in the actual mix of this, I think. Like right now I can really hear that hi-hat, and I think in the percussion section I was trying to keep that hi-hat really low when I was mixing this. Because I just didn't, we were trying to kind of trick people who are listening to this into thinking that there was like a drum set without them really hearing a drum set. And the louder that sampled hi-hat gets, the more it sounds like someone playing drums. I wasn't using a lot of plugins on this mix. I don't go nuts with them now. It's mostly for corrective stuff, or it depends on the song. I mean, sometimes you can do quite a lot of stuff in there. But in this case, I wasn't using a lot of plugins in there. So as far as EQ and stuff, you would probably do some on the board. And like I said, I like to try to record things the way I want to hear them. But even still, like we'll probably add a little bit of punch to Dom's kick drum, maybe a touch of top end on the overheads. Let's just see here. So you just add like, a little bit of upper mid-range on the kick, some top end on the snare. The overheads are here, just a little bit of brightness. And then I'll probably roll out some bottom end in the overheads. As you can see on the kick drum, the red light is flashing. That's fine, don't worry about it. So on the bass, as I said, I like to boost 3K. And as soon as you do that, that's worth listening to for a second. So this is Chris's bass as it was recorded. And then as soon as you add that 3K, it sounds like his bass, even more so. That sounds like a lot closer to the record now. I'm not boosting loads of low end because there's already quite a lot in there. And so the way I like to work is I don't drill down too far on each individual element as I'm going. I like to get kind of a general balance together and then sort of go through methodically once I have more of a whole picture and see if there's anything that needs to be really fixed. So then you bring in the guitars. So what we're hearing now is so now, compared to the record, the live drums are way too loud. The live drums are almost more of a flavor underneath the program drums. I don't know if that's what Dom likes, but that is kind of what we ended up doing. So we're going to turn up the synthesized kick and snare a little more. This is sounding a bit more like the track now. Guitars are a little dull, so we'll add some top end. So also on the guitars is, we'll run a little bit of parallel compression on them to just kind of wake them up, spark them a little. They're gonna go to the TG1. Chandler TG1 sounds great on guitars. So now you add a little bit of that and we're getting some more articulation and punch out of those guitars. I definitely would have done that during mixing this the first time. Still getting too much of the live kit. I don't really want to hear a dude back there playing the drums. I want to feel it but not hear. In fact, I think it's the top end on his snare, so let's turn that on. So the edited swoops and stuff are way too loud. Let's turn those down. Really kind of struggling to get the snare sounding right here. I think I'm missing some drum samples that I would have been using on the original mix. So we're running a bunch of parallel stuff. The mix sounds still a little bit laid back, so I would also add some EQ on the mix bus and compress it a fair bit to get some punch. I like to use Esoteric Audio 660s on the mix bus. Probably would have done that with this song. This SSL console also has a great mix bus compressor, so we'll pound into that a little bit. And as soon as you engage that, the kick is taking up way more room and the whole thing starts to sound tighter and meaner.